All right, everybody. This is the third time that I've done an awesome little Q&A reunion of one of my favorite films. I'm a huge John Fasano fan. Clearly, I did an interview with cast and crew of Black Roses back in December of last year, and then just a few months ago we did. Another one of his films. We did Jitters, which was awesome. So please go back and check that out. I'm still trying to get the Black Roses one cut in half so that we can just put the Q&A up on the Indie Escape for all of you to go back and watch, because they did take it down from YouTube, the original one that I did, because of the song Me Against the World due to copyright. So, but that was a great time, great fun. It's so much fun bringing these people together. And hearing some cool stories and just seeing these people reunite after a while, and again, they hold a place in my heart because I'm an 80s kid who used to go to the video store all the time and watch a lot of horror movies, and these were the ones that stood out to me. I love John Fasano films, and we will be doing one, closing it out with Zombie Nightmare, hopefully in December. We'll see how that goes, but tonight we got Rock and Roll Nightmare. I do have to read something before we bring up the guests, because there is one guest who just could not attend, and I'm pretty bummed out about that. But this is exactly what he said. He said, "Hey, Tim, have a great show. I do wish the alumni all the best. I still have productions being released that I'm involved with. So if you could mention my co-starring role in my new movie, Pact of Vengeance, and my current album Alliance on Cleopatra Records, I would appreciate it. And we can work out an interview sometime in the near future." That is John Michael Thor, of course. So apologies, he could not make it. But we do have quite the bunch this evening, and you might recognize most all of them. So, Joe, bring them up if you could, please. Nice. Wow. Nice. I love this. This is awesome. And I watched Rock and Roll Nightmare again, like for the, I don't know, maybe at least 50th time, like this evening, an hour and a half before this. So it's fresh in my brain. Frank and Leanne. Wow. So nice to see you guys. And
wait, can I just say hello to Adam and Jesse and Jim, and hi, Carrie. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen you two guys since we drove. Didn't we drive from Canada back to, in a blinding snowstorm?
Yeah.
Okay.
We actually had to pull over and get hotel rooms because the snowstorm was so bad.
Yeah. And we went into some bar that was like they were casting Deliverance in the bar, I think.
Yeah.
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
This is awesome. So Frank and Leanne are here. Cynthia's here. Carrie, Adam, Jim, and Jesse, my good friend who we've done a lot of stuff with. So please, let's go clockwise and just introduce yourself, the role you played in the film, and how you got involved with the project. So we'll start with Frank.
Okay, I'll start. I am Frank Dietz. I played Roger Eburt in Rock and Roll Nightmare. And I got involved because John basically put me in everything that he did. At least the four movies that we did in Canada. John often referred to me as his Ward Bond. And if you don't know who Ward Bond is, Google it and you'll figure out why. But yeah, it was almost like just a given that if John was making a horror movie in Canada, that I was going to be part of it.
And I'm Leanne Dietz. And fun fact, when Frank and I made this movie together with all of these wonderful people, we were engaged, and but we were playing newlyweds, and now we've been married for years. And yeah, so that's pretty crazy. I knew John in high school, and because Frank and I were together, I guess maybe it was convenient that he cast me. I don't know, but it sure was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Cynthia?
Hey. Oh, who
Cindy.
am I? Okay, well, I produced this movie. John and I were partners and also married. So we're partners and partners. This was the first movie we made as Fascination Films, and I'm sure that the cast knows this, but not everyone knows that this film cost $44,000 US to complete. Maybe with the post, maybe close to $50,000. And basically, our goal was to make the cheapest full-length film that we could make to prove that it could be made for that little amount of money.
Yeah.
And we did. Revolver magazine just called Rock and Roll Nightmare one of their top 10 horror rock films of all time. So I think we all be very excited about that. And they also named Black Roses, which is another one of our Fascination films that I made with John as producer, and also wrote that one. And their third choice was Zombie Nightmare. So that means that Jesse, I think, is the only one who's in all three. Am I right?
No, Frank is in all.
No, me and Jesse. Yeah.
Who worked on all three?
Yeah.
Yeah. So congratulations. That's pretty cool for us anyway.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Also, I also play the mom in the opening scene.
Yes.
With my adorable little son, Jesse, who's in the beginning of the movie saying, "Okay, Mom, don't scramble the eggs without me."
Thank you, Mom.
I love embarrassing Jesse.
I love
So I
this.
can see I did it again. Yay!
Yes. Let's go down. Let's go to Stiggy baby. Jim.
What's up, everybody? Or actually, I should probably do it in Stig voice. Freaking night, Mike. Lovely to see all of you today. And by the way, the accent is just as horrible now as it was 33 or so years ago. I don't know. Thanks for doing this, you guys. What fun. It's so great to see all of you guys. Some of you I haven't seen in, it's been like, 67 years, right?
Yeah, exactly. It'll be 67 next month.
Yeah. Cool. So, but how I became involved. So, John and I were actually on the same hall at SUNY Purchase. And so we went to college together, and we were, even though we were very, very different people, we both shared a love of like geeky horror films and Fangoria magazine and just bloody, horrible, geek nerdy things. And so eventually John wound up sort of assembling this whole kind of group of people who shared similar interests and knew how to do special makeup effects, and were kind of interested in that whole, can-do guerrilla filmmaking thing, of which, Frank, you were probably the first one he pulled in, I would guess. And next thing I know, we're all in my sister's basement for like 4 months sculpting monsters, which was awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. Adam.
So I'm Adam Freed. I played Phil, the band's manager. I actually met, I met John. We were doing a movie together, a Chuck Vincent movie. Yeah, exactly. And it was called Student Affairs. And I had no lines in the entire movie. It was just myself and my friend Joe. And we kind of, we played these two silent school janitors who just had bits the whole time. And we broke windows and we did stuff. And John and I just hit it off, because we both realized what a horrible movie we were a part of with Student Affairs, and that we just laughed the whole time. And then he said, "Hey, if I ever do anything, can I call you?" And I said, "Please." And he said, "Yeah." And then he called me, and I said, "Well, I am a member of Screen Actors Guild." He goes, "Yeah, we're doing it in Canada, so don't worry." I'm like, "Cool, I'm there." So I went and read for him, and the rest was history.
Awesome.
Well, that just explained the question, but why Canada?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's been explained a couple times already when we did the Black Roses and the Jitters one. Carrie.
Hi.
So who are you?
Okay, so I played Cindy Connelly, the president of the Triton fan club, and it was my first on-camera acting gig. I answered a call in the back of the Now magazine for an audition. So it was my first audition, and I made the phone call, and they said, well, are you comfortable wearing a bathing suit, wearing a bikini to this audition? And I was like, well, it's, can I wear it underneath my clothes? Because I'll be on the TTC. But anyway, so I did the audition, and I think I had to lift my shirt and show my bathing suit underneath. And I had to sign a waiver. I was 16 at the time. And lo and behold, I got the phone call, and I was so excited. And we were whisked off to, I don't know where the shoot took place, but it was quite a drive outside of the city.
It's a long van ride.
Yeah.
A long van ride. Like that opening scene
Right.
of the...
Yeah.
I think I played for one day, and it made for great storytelling and bragging rights. And I actually didn't see the film until 6 years ago.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I had been trying to find a copy of it. I looked and looked and looked every time I went into an independent movie store. Remember DVD stores or VHS shops and everything? I just couldn't find. And then I was in Mexico at a resort, and I was talking to someone who happened to be a fan of horror films and a collector. And so I said, oh, you wouldn't have happened to ever seen Rock and Roll Nightmare. He goes, oh, yeah, I have. I own a copy. I'll send it to you. And so then, a couple months later, he sent me a copy, and I had a little viewing party. One friend came over. And,
That's awesome.
That
That's cool.
makes for some great stories.
Thank you. Jesse.
Hello.
Hey.
Well, I'm Jesse D'Angelo, and for anybody watching who doesn't know, like, the dynamic here, these old movies were all family affairs. So Cynthia up there, that's my mom. Jim right there, that's my uncle. So these were all family and friend movies, basically. And so when it came time to make this movie, I was like, 7, 8? How old was I, Ma?
5.
I was older than 5. I think I was
5.
7?
I think I was 7, but it was just how I came to be. It was like, John was my stepfather, so that's how I came to be in the movie. I think it was presented to me like this. It was like, Jesse, do you want to stay in New York and stay with your dad and go to school for a couple months, or do you want to come up to Canada, where we're going to make a movie with like monsters and rock and roll and hot babes?
And you get to
So unfair, Jesse.
Even
There
at
was
7
never-
years old, I was like,
You were
let's
just
go.
told.
So that was my big story of how I got cast in this movie.
Lucky man. Yeah.
Grueling process.
Awesome. Well, it does seem here that please correct this if this is wrong. It states that the filming location was Markham, Ontario, Canada.
Okay,
That was it.
that seems right.
Does that
You
make
say
sense?
so.
I've got several questions off this show. I mean, about this, once I announced that we're doing this, that they kept asking, multiple people asked, where is that barn? Where is that house? Like, where is it? Like, is it real? Is it still up? Does it still exist?
I don't know.
Nobody knows.
I had to deal with this, and I hate to say this. Well, maybe I like to say this. I like to post photos of random abandoned farmhouses and say, this is where we filmed.
Oh, come on.
And then here's some random barn. Yup, this is the studio where the Tritons play. And it's like, I have no idea. And sometimes I'll stick a picture of John Fasano in the front of it. Like, yup, here he is going to direct the scene. And, you know,
I
just
actually
keeps people's imaginations alive, which I really like. If
I
nothing
did
else.
some research into this actually, like last year. I was trying to find the place because I was like, you know, it was not just a farmhouse; it had a legit recording studio in there. So I was thinking, how many farmhouses in Ontario, Canada, also had a big recording studio? So I was like, let me do a little search. So I started looking into it, and I was just looking up like Canadian farmhouse recording studio, all those kind of keywords into Google, and I found a few, and I found one that I could have sworn was it, and I used the Google Maps to zoom down to the street view.
I didn't know you knew how to do that, Jess.
Well, I'm looking at the street view of the maps, and I'm rotating it around, and it looks like the location. So I contacted the owner, and I was asking the owner, like, is this the location from Rock and Roll Nightmare? And the guy replies saying, like, no, it wasn't.
No, we've never had a crew up here.
Short story. Long story short, my research didn't really turn up anything, but I tried. So.
But do you remember the guy that
it wasn't it?
the guy who ran the house or owned the house? Remember we did a scene with him?
Yeah.
Because he like had to be in the
Hilarious.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
He
was
was the
Carl.
best actor in the film.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, he and I had that scene together about the keys to the house.
Yeah.
He was really funny. He was a pretty cool guy, actually.
Did you guys? I don't remember. Was that actually Adam? Was that actually in the script, or were you guys
No.
riffing it?
No, John said just go. He goes, this guy wants to be in the movie. Just do something with him. So
Because
he
it's
and I did
really
that.
natural.
And you were trying to hurry it up. Yeah.
He gave us a discount for letting him be in the film, so of course we gave him a role.
Yeah, exactly. He was like the Manson family member they don't talk about.
All right, I'm going to run through some other trivia stuff I want to just clear up and make sure that this is all true before we go further. But then I'm going to go backwards and then ask about any specific memories so that.
And I also had to wear a bikini at the audition. But
I was going to save that for the post show.
There's
Yeah.
a reason for that. At
Yeah, I'll
some
pull out my
point,
shirt at the end just
go
as we
into
go
that.
out.
It says it's shot in 7 days. Is that true?
Yes, like the
Yeah.
Earth was
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also says that, well, yes, we know that director John Fasano's son plays the Wolf Boy. Yes. But it says Rusty Hamilton, who plays the seductress. Jeez. I can't even speak today. Is John Michael Thor's wife. Or was.
Yeah.
Was. Okay. It said the film came in 10 minutes short of its required running time. So John Fasano and star John Michael Thor film sequences of John Triton, Jesus, a mouthful, driving the van to the farm, hence the prolonged opening shots.
Yes, sadly.
Yes.
So it was shot
This
after the
was
fact.
John,
Okay.
John Fasano, he loved that. He would have kept that running for another 5 minutes if he could. He just loved that van scene.
Do you remember when the movie was on Gilbert Gottfried Up All Night? So,
Yeah.
And he talked, that's what he kept focusing on was the van scene. He's like, this is the sign of a great movie. When you have a good 25 minutes in a van. That was,
I didn't know that.
Sometimes we cut away to John Thor. I mean, there were those cutaway moments.
Yeah.
Those were superb filmmaking.
Of John driving and like pounding on the rock music.
Yeah.
It was,
But
it was avant-garde, really.
There was also the scene that's almost the very last shot of the movie where John Thor is at the grave. That's supposed to be the 3 people that were killed at the beginning of the movie, and has a little monologue. But that was so it added another 50 seconds that was needed to be made up.
It also says that John did the voice for the demon monster at the end of the film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And lastly,
ever.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a voice being done, it's John Fasano, almost invariably.
And John puppeteered the devil mostly. I mean, John was the only one strong enough to hold it up because the damn thing weighed 60 pounds.
Oh, thanks, Arnold Gargiulo.
Yes, thank you, Arnold Gargiulo. Jeez. I mean, some of the rest of us would puppeteer the arms, but that was easy. But John was the only one, who had the body strength to actually hold that devil up with one arm, by the way, through all those fight scenes. And I knew it was easy.
So
sore. I think what me and many others love about these films, like Black Roses, Jitters, Zombie Nightmare, and Rock and Roll Nightmare, is exactly what Jesse said earlier, which was, since it is mostly a family and friend run show, an operation that way, that it actually comes off that way. You can really, I mean, when you're watching the film, it's fun. I mean, you can see you're almost like yourself making something like that. It's got that I don't know, it's just got something, like something that's the family. You sense the love, if you know what I'm saying. So I really, really, really do appreciate it. We're getting a lot of comments on the Facebook tonight as well. This is streaming live on Facebook. That's my business partner, Brandon Brooks from Subsoil Films. Brandon, Billy LaRoque.
Billy.
Hey,
Billy's
Billy.
awesome. Billy's awesome. Ken, good to see you, brother.
President of the Tritons fan club, by the way.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
That kid is hardcore fan.
Yeah, definitely. So we're streaming live on Facebook, I believe Twitter too, but we just don't have many viewers over there. But definitely YouTube and Facebook, just so you guys know this is live. And then for those after the fact, thank you for tuning in. A lot of the stuff that we'll be going over tonight, obviously, I'm not going to be going too deep into the plot of the movie and all that other good stuff, because you will obviously be here knowing that you've already seen the movie. I mean, clearly. I mean, if you're watching this, you've seen the movie. So let's get some insight on, hey, like, do you remember anything specific about your time on set that stands out, like good, mostly good? Like, let us know. Jesse, let's start with you and go backwards.
Oh my God, me?
You were young, so but what do you remember?
Well, I
Anything
don't
good?
remember much from set, and I wasn't in much.
Mommy,
So
Daddy, you don't remember doing that?
Oh, I remember all that. I really remember getting put into the werewolf makeup. I was a big, and still am, a big werewolf fan at the time. Like, right in the early 80s was like American Werewolf in London, Howling, Teen Wolf, Silver Bullet. It was just one great werewolf movie after another. And the Michael Jackson Thriller video. So I was all about werewolves and transformations. And so that's all John needed to do to sucker me into this, was say, like, you can turn into a werewolf. So that whole time, just getting put into makeup, John sculpted the appliance. I remember Frank was helping put me in makeup. John's sister, Felicia Fasano, was assisting with the makeup. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. I was a kid in a candy store getting to turn into a werewolf. That was all great. And the other main thing I remember, and I've told this story before, but dang it, I'm going to tell it again because it sticks in my head and it's funny, that last night of the battle between Thor and the devil, it was fucking freezing, right? It was so cold. In that
The barn, the studio.
Yeah, there's no insulation in the barn, nothing. It's it's just absolutely freezing. And I'm standing there just watching, and I'm in like a parka and long pants and long johns and gloves and all this, and I'm freezing.
Yeah.
And I look over at Thor, and Thor's in this little metal jock strap and cape.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if this was like a big movie, like in between takes, they'd rush over to him and put a parka on him and stuff and then take it off. But he was just standing around like that the whole time. And I remember looking over at John and being like, John, like, isn't he really cold? Right? And John looks over at Thor and he says, and he walks over to Thor and he goes, and he pinches his nipple. And he turns back to me and he says, yep, he's cold, all right. And that's
so difficult.
Yeah, I love
that's
that.
the kind of thing that, like, that was his sense of humor. Like, only John would do something like that. Just go pinch a man's nipple. It's
not fair.
It's a 7-year-old when
Anyone's
you
nipple.
see something like that. Those were two fun memories.
Thank you, Jesse.
I Thor's cape was, I don't know what it was made out of, but at one point, it was really cold in there, but at one point he almost got really hot because his cape was too close to one of the lights and it started to spark and started to catch fire. And I remember who was just like, Thor, your cape's on fire. Luckily, it didn't get any worse than just a singe at the bottom. But yeah, cold.
He must have been a pig in
that final scene, though.
What's up?
What's that?
I said it would have been great if his cape had caught on fire.
Oh yeah.
Production value would have been terrific.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Keep shooting.
Roll to our special effects. dramatically.
Well, you're asking about what we remember or memories from the shoot, and I still remember my lines, all 3 of them, and I had an opportunity to recite them to John to Thor himself in Calgary for his the gala for the premiere of his documentary.
Oh, I am Thor. Yeah.
Which I thought was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's so gracious, and he was on the red carpet outside of the theater greeting people. And I just went up and I said, "Hi, I'm Cindy Connelly, president of the Triton fan club. I hear they're staying here. Can I come in?" And he just kind of went like, "Whoa!"
It was you
I
and
don't think
4 other
he knew what
girls,
to do.
wasn't it?
What to do with me?
Carrie, it was
He-
you and like 3. So your scene was with me.
Yes.
Yeah. It was you and
Yes,
3 or 4,
Adam.
you and 3 or 4 other girls. I remember that. And somebody said to me, "Oh, these girls are going to take their shirts off." And I was like, "Awesome scene." And then they're like, they decided no. I was like, "Oh, great."
Because I was only 16
years old.
But it was like 3 a.m., wasn't it? It was really late.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
We had the same thing happen on Zombie Nightmare, actually.
Hi,
So
Lucia.
it happens all the time.
Say
Yeah.
hi, Lucia.
Hi, Lucia.
Hi, Lucia.
Hi.
Family's here.
Hi, Lucia. Hi, Lucia.
Lucia is Cindy's daughter.
And
Oh,
also-
okay.
Yes.
And my sister.
And Jesse's
That's
sister.
right.
It's all in the family.
She's a wonderful musician too. Check her music out on Spotify and also YouTube.
Yay.
I've listened to a bunch of her videos as well. So
Does she do
Lucia,
comedy still?
I don't know.
She was, right?
She is joining the live stream.
No, thank you guys. Yeah, I'm so enjoying all these stories that I've actually never heard before, most of them. So thank you.
Awesome.
I can comment on Carrie's experience in being asked. Did I ask you to lift your shirt? Was it
I don't
somebody-
remember. I just remember at the audition, and it
we
was
had to do that. This was John's idea for how to make sure that someone would show their tits on the screen, because a lot of times people would say, "Yes, of course we'll do the scene, scantily clad," and then get on the set and go, "Nah." So John said, "Well, if we have them do it in the audition, if they do it then, they'll do it on set." So apparently that didn't work with you.
No.
What with your age, and we would have been towed off to jail before the shoot ended.
Yeah.
It's terrible, but I mean, in all fairness, I have to say that the only way we got these films financed was having a certain required amount of TNA, and that was it. People would not invest money in a film unless it had exactly the amount of TNA that they wanted, and we just had to get it. And on Black Roses, we didn't have enough. So after the film wrapped and we got back home, we had people coming back to our basement to do 8 shots of their freaking boobs. So I could put them into Black Roses. There are scenes of Julie, Karen Plandon, feeling herself up that aren't Karen Plandon.
No.
There's some other New York-based actress just person feeling themselves up.
That scene was pivotal to the plot, though, Mom.
It was pivotal.
The backers, and
Not to see
there
this
you
at
go.
all.
Otherwise, there would have been no movies. What can I say? So apologies for that.
No hard feelings.
It was
I
awful. I hate that a 16-year-old girl goes in for an audition and gets told to show her boobs. That's it's not kosher.
I was asked if I was comfortable wearing a bikini. I was. So there's no harm, no foul. Don't worry whatsoever.
Carrie?
Pretty foul to me.
Yes, Jesse.
I want to ask
for the record, I have exposed my breasts in films, my adult breasts since then. Happily.
I want to ask Carrie a question if I could, because on the DVD of Rock and Roll Nightmare, on the commentary, John is talking about some of this, and he told a story about your casting process of how you and the other girls were brought in. I forget the one guy's name, but that this one other guy was kind of running like a casting couch sort of thing, where he kind of like was promising you girls a part if you took clothes off and this kind of thing, and that it was a very shady kind of venture. And I was wondering if that rings true at all.
That could be it, Jesse. Because
that wasn't my experience, but what I do remember is that we were asked to pay $60, and then we would be guaranteed the next movie. We'd be, set for life with this company. Would be able to.
But Frank gave you that money back. So what are you wanting about?
Yeah, $60. Yeah. that was in the
I didn't
trivia
have
on
$60.
IMDb
I didn't pay $60.
The trivia.
I
But
remember
there
that
was
guy.
definitely like a kind of a sleazy vibe in that waiting room, and I remember in the green room. I kind of remember that, but I don't.
No, he was sleazy. I was there at your audition. I remember and he just gave the creepiest vibe in the world. What I thought that the gal that played Liane was his girlfriend. Was that? Am I not remembering that correctly?
Paula.
I don't remember the names of the characters. Sorry.
No, Paula. I don't remember Paula's last name either. But
no one can find her. Yeah, she was.
Everybody here is who I found. I couldn't find anybody else. There was some people that have like the most generic names in the world. There was like 8 million people with the same name, and I couldn't just, or they did like 2 other films and that was it. But yeah, but I was just blessed to find you guys. So thank you.
Yeah, Dee Dee's a musician, and she also went to high school with us. Jillian Perry. Thank you, Billy. See, Billy knows.
Billy knows all.
Billy knows everything.
Yeah.
Teresa, who played Thor's wife, is still a very good friend of mine. Happily married and living in somewhere in Connecticut, maybe.
That's good to know.
Yeah, and I think something that I remember from the shoot was the house that we were shooting in. Everyone has mentioned how cold it was up there, and it really truly was. And actually in that opening scene where we're all standing outside and Adam is showing us the house, and we were so cold. I was, actresses are notoriously vain, and I definitely was, and still am. And it was so cold that I was wearing this big puffy coat that was very in back then. It was a huge coat, and I did not care that I looked like a whale in it because I was so freezing cold.
I remember that coat.
Off. But something that I remember is we were all in the house, and we shot in the house, and there was no heat and there was no hot water in the house. And my poor friend Teresa had to do a shower scene. Cold water. She did that scene. She and Thor, who also had no body fat. So I don't know how they did it, but they.
I don't know. That
cold shower.
That cold water probably didn't do Thor any favors either.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He had no problems. I'll piggyback off that story.
Wow.
Yeah, that scene.
You lost a life.
2 hours. Okay. 2 hours in the shower with the freezing cold water.
Wow.
And neither of them had any problem with it. So need I say more?
No, yeah. Well, of course. I mean, John must have been having the time of his fucking life because he wrote that. I mean, this is his baby. Yeah.
You can tell when Thor gets in the shower. You can tell he steps in and he goes. It's hilarious.
Adam, do you have any memories? Anything that sticks out to you? Anything fond?
So there's that scene with that girl whose name I don't remember bites a piece of my neck out because she's a demon. So they had to make the plaster cast of my head, and we were staying at this Holiday Inn. Remember that Holiday Inn that we stayed at? My roommate, who was the guy who was the special effects guy, and he had the head with him and put it on our dresser. When I woke up in the morning, I'm looking straight at me. and it was like fucking terrifying.
That's awesome.
He actually let me keep. I had the head for years. I don't know. I lost it somehow, but yeah. So that was pretty terrifying.
Wow. Yeah, Vinny Modica.
Yes, yes. He was a great guy. It was really cool, and it was fun to do. But yeah, and the question I get asked most by friends who've seen the movie is that guy really from Australia? I'm like, yeah. He's actually the Prime Minister of Australia.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Jim, Stig, Jim, any memories, anything that stick out that you want to share?
Oh man, wow. I remember it all. Like
Okay.
You like it was yesterday, but I was also pretty stoned yesterday. So no, man, so many memories. I mean, the hours and hours spent doing the songs. The two songs, which were so much fun to do. And yeah, it was freezing then as well. But we were also kind of hyper from the energy and doing take after take after take of this stuff. But
yeah, you were actually sweat. You can see it in the movie that you are sweating and because just playing that drums, for 3 hours straight.
Yeah, and I don't play drums, and that's the only instrument I don't play. So of course that's what they assigned me to do. Yeah. But all the close-ups on all the instruments of everyone playing except Dee Dee, that was all me in the movie. So, but it was super fun, and I think we were all kind of in this sort of like bubble of delusion in that it was so fun that we all thought that these songs were like the greatest songs, and I still love. Don't get me wrong, I love these songs. I think they're great songs, but like in my head, we were making something that was going to be like Aliens, like at that level. And I was like, I don't know, 21 or 22. I had no clue. All I knew was that we were all sort of giving it our all, and just doing the best we could, all of us, sculpting monsters, whatever we felt like doing, we would create it. Someone would come up with a crazy idea and we'd be like, yeah, okay, let's put that in the movie, and next thing we know, the movie is populated with all these tiny little ridiculous creatures and stuff like, okay, cool.
Please, let's get that out of the air. Please. Can somebody please explain those? It's just absolutely nutty things. So there were just things that just you guys riffed on and just decided, hey, let's throw it in there somewhere, or like was there purpose behind it? Was it in the script or
story?
The sock puppets?
Yeah, they just
Frank, right? Frank,
Yeah,
wasn't it you in the basement that like you were kind of sculpting and playing around and you sculpted that first?
John Gibson created the
right, the Gibson Monster. That's right. They're called Gibson. That's right.
So John Gibson was a friend of John and mine from SUNY Purchase, who was also a gifted artist and a musician, who just stopped by one day, and we were all sculpting monsters, and he was like, hey, can I give it a shot? Referring to this big pile of clay. And John was like, sure. And John Fasano, I mean. And John Gibson, one of the things that he always likes to draw way back in the day was monsters that look like that. These like one-eyed, weird, penis-looking things. And he had like, it was like a motif for him. He did like hundreds and hundreds of them, and they're all like, they were great. And so that's what he sculpted. And we were all like, cool. Now it just needs hands, So I sculpted the hands, and next thing we know, how many of them were there in the movie? Like 6 of them. So
my favorite scene was where Adam was in the sound booth listening to music, and he picks up his cup of coffee and he takes a sip, and then the little monster guy comes and like it's
like hocks a loogie into it. Yeah.
Adam's like, this is good. And he
he takes a second look at the cup and then goes ahead.
The fun part about the Gibsons were that once he had sculpted the first one, we ran foam. We made a whole bunch of them, and then basically everybody got to take one and do what they wanted to do with it. Somebody put hair on one of them. And then we just started coming up with gags that we thought I smoked cigarettes back then. And so I thought, wouldn't it be funny if my, one of them was smoking a cigarette and, coughed on the cigarette and
I remember that one.
Yeah. It was, it was so much fun. It was just so much fun to be puppeteering and everybody wore many hats. like you did whatever you needed to be done that day. You just did it. And that was the really, this movie in particular, more than the other three, I think was really like, because we had such a low budget and, you know, and because we were just sort of thrown out into the wilderness there, it felt, that one felt more like family, I think, than the others did, because we had no choice.
It was so much smaller, and it was the only movie that didn't have like big crowd scenes, big action scenes.
Right.
True.
It was only, you know, like the band gets together, the band plays a song, and other than that, it was just, you know, people in a room, except for the scene with Stig and Liane going outside, one of the few exteriors in the entire film.
Yeah.
Which was actually like, that lake was right there. There was no like
right there.
Hollywood or Mississauga trickery there. It really was. The lake was like right over there by the house. I mean, that's the way we rolled. But just going back to the monsters, I think it was Vinny. Frank, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Vinny who sculpted those like squid things.
No, actually, that was me.
Oh, you did that.
I did the squids. Vinny did the weird skinny reptile-y thing that jumps at John at one point at Thor.
So who came up with the idea for using Cheerios as the suckers? Because I remember we were like looking at it, we're like, it's really cool, but it needs suckers on the bottom, and somebody came up with the using Cheerios, and then we just made it gold.
Yeah, that was my idea. I was thinking, I was like, I could either sculpt all these little circular things on there, or buy a box of Cheerios and just push them into the clay, and then make the mold with the Cheerios still in there, and it worked. It was great.
Guerrilla filmmaking at its finest.
Yeah, and I believe, like Lucia said earlier too in the chat, you know, the passion comes through. I mean, like what you discussed before, and I was trying to say earlier, the passion you guys had when making this, it's so much fun. I mean, even with its quirks or whatever, and even the other ones too, like Jitters as well, or Black Roses and Zombie Nightmare. I mean, I love these so much, and clearly there's a ton of people in the chat. I know you guys can't. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'm seeing there's a billion comments like from different. There's Zach and Phil and John and geez, lots of people. But and thank you all for tuning in. And obviously, if you tune in after the fact, when this is not live, I appreciate that as well. And make sure you tune into at the Indie Escape Network.
Hi, John Cody.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's go through. Actually, you know what, Cynthia? I don't know if did you say anything particular that you wanted to mention about the onset that you loved about it, or
that I loved about it.
Yeah, was there anything that sticks out? Any good memories, fond memories?
Boy, fond memories, huh? Well, really?
Well, you were a producer on this. There's probably not many, but
okay. I think I'm the only one who wasn't really having much fun.
What about acting? Well, you did act in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun.
I got dragged into the refrigerator.
What? Yeah.
Talk about great stories. It's like, yeah, you in that movie, yeah. I got dragged into the refrigerator. My character was Carol. After Carol Lombard, my hero, and Carrie plays Cindy Connelly. Then Luanne is Leanne. So it's like basically everyone's name in the movie is a reference to someone else. Where did you get the name for Stig? I don't remember that. Was that your choice?
I know that. Go ahead, Frank.
No, I'm sure you're going to say the same thing, but from the Ruddles, is it?
Is it from Ruddles?
Yeah, the Beatles spoof.
Right.
Yeah, there was a character in that named Stig, and that was supposed to be the George Harrison character, and that's very typical. John would pluck something like that, and put it into the script. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
I want to ask something. I've been curious. I may have asked you this years ago, Jim. I don't remember. And Frank, maybe you could illuminate this too. You're talking about like I play all these instruments except the drums. They cast me as playing the drum. Like, was there a conversation about this? Like, did you go to John and say, like I can play guitar. Like, how about I play the Frank character and Frank plays the drums? Like,
No.
was there any conversation or just
No.
like why did that happen?
I think for me, I think John thought it was hilarious that that I could not play a lick of a bass guitar. So much so that he had me do it in Black Roses also. So 2 movies in a row where I played the bass guitar and couldn't. Jim's right. The close-ups are all him. Maybe even in Black Roses too. Somebody else filled in for me on Black Roses to do the same thing. But all you have to do is, you're an actor. You just fake it. The only people who know are people who really play the guitar.
Right, but it would just seem that like if you have a real guitar player and bass player, like, hey, but I mean, whatever.
What's the fun in that, Jesse?
It's one of those quirks.
A piece for Black Roses, he could actually play the drums.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very well. Yes.
Yeah.
And
I
that-
think the other guy in the Tritons, the one who played Dee Dee's love interest, like
David Lane.
Could he really play? I can't remember.
I think he did. I think I remember. No, I thought he said he could.
Oh well,
he said he could.
That's not.
I could ride a horse.
Also,
Yeah.
He's an actor. Actors
I
are.
remember when we were at the hotel.
Yeah.
The manager of the hotel thing was talking to John. He was all kind of animated and he walked away and I said, "Hey, that guy seems really nice." And John goes, "Well, he's under the impression that HBO's coming to film Making of Rock and Roll Nightmare, and they're going to talk about the hotel a lot." It's like, wow, that was brilliant. He goes,
Wow.
"Trust me, as the week goes on, he's going to get less and less friendly."
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
This is what you do when
Yeah.
you make films for no money. And also when you're making films for a lot of money, there's a lot of blarney as well.
Yeah.
Classic John.
I mean, I felt like this was making these movies was 4 years of film school. I learned so much on making all of these movies. It was great in that respect. So that way, when I did, come out to LA and started to work on bigger films and so forth, I knew, the protocols, and I knew, what everybody did on set, which was, really helpful for sure.
No, it was fun.
So, real quick, I'm gonna Jim. Did you say that you were only gonna be able to be here for an hour? Is that what it was?
My schedule has cleared. I actually had a band rehearsal at tonight, but it's been canceled. So there you go.
Okay. I want to just go through and let's start with Carrie. We're gonna continue to talk, but I just want to get this out of the way in case we lose connections or anything like that. If anybody has to leave, I just want to get hey, what have you been up to since, and what have you got coming up now that people can check you out now. So Carrie, let's start with you.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
I just have to grab something.
Yep. Okay. Well, Jim, we'll go with you.
Okay.
We'll go back to Carrie. Jim, what have you been up to, man?
Oh, geez. Writer, musician, entrepreneur, still playing rock and roll, still rocking. I'm actually in a Pink Floyd tribute here in Los Angeles called Continuous Signal. You should check us out at pinkfloyd.live. I think you'll like what you see. We do these epic Pink Floyd tribute shows all over California and Mexico. Also writer, film producer. My last movie was To Your Last Death, which was the #2 most award-winning horror movie of 2020. Adult animated horror movie starring William Shatner and Ray Wise and Morena Baccarin. And
yeah, wow, cool.
Got multiple other horror movies in the hopper that I can't announce yet because they're not financed. But things are happening, so we're still in it. I mean, basically that sort of spirit that carried us through all those years ago. That scrappy sort of get it done however you can. If you're fortunate enough to be working on the Hollywood level, you don't have to deal with that. But basically anyone below that, including a lot of like really well-known indies, are still having to, scrap and make it happen any way they can. Yeah. So, much love to all the people DIYing it. And I'm right there with you.
You also offer script services, right? Or what was it? Your website or something?
Yeah, CoverageInc.com is my company, and Coverage Inc. Films was the producer of To Your Last Death.
Cool, awesome, thank you, Jim. Carrie, so what?
Okay, I'm ready now. I'm still acting. I'm still living in Canada, so I'm still doing a lot of other things too. I'm also a published author. These are my 2 books. My first one is a collection of poetry called Umbilicus. And this is my recent book. It came out in May. Can you see it? It's called From the Corner of Bad and Ass. Nice. It's true stories based on growing up on welfare and getting out of that situation. I'm also a painter, and I sell my stuff. So I guess I'm okay at that. My husband and I have a duet. I sing. He plays guitar. I play harmonica. So I just live a very creative, mostly happy, very fulfilling life.
So you stuck with it, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. That's awesome. Good to see you. I love your paintings too. I see them you post them all the time on Facebook.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, 100%. Mr. Adam, what have you been up to, man?
I just kept doing comedy for a very long time, and then hosting and emceeing all kinds of corporate gigs and things like that. So just keep the hand in, and finished a screenplay with a partner of mine. So we gave it to one studio, but it was a very odd situation. We kind of are trying to challenge the industry a little bit, because it's about racism, and it's a comedy, but it still touches, a lot of how ridiculous racism is and things like that. And, one studio already said, well, we can't buy it because it's written by 2 white guys. I'm like, well, is that racist? So yeah.
What if you identify as being black?
There you go.
I could be Diana Ross, but I'm not, but I could be. But what I'm saying, so that's just kind of ridiculous. So we're still shopping it around, and we'll see what happens with that.
Best of luck with that, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Jesse, Mr. Author.
Boy.
You got your books handy?
I do. Well, so I'm doing fiction, so I just put out my 6th book.
I have 2 of them.
This just came out, composite. It's a thriller, and I'm very happy with it. But right now, what I want to plug is I've got a little contest going. And I'm trying to put it on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that, to promote the next thing coming out. I have a Halloween art contest raffle, where if anybody holds up one of my books for a picture and posts it online and shares it around, their name is entered in the raffle and they win a piece of art. And I've been working on it. It's still in progress, but it's getting there. Let's see if I can get.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's wicked.
That is awesome.
Love it, dude.
So it's going to be way, way, way more detailed and shaded and nuanced. But whoever wins the raffle gets this original illustration. And so, anybody watching this, get one of my books, take a picture, hold it up, and you could win the drawing. So there's my shameless self-promotion.
Love it. Love it, dude. Yes, I own Pray to God and Doomsday Dogs. Fucking love it. So, got to get composite though. And Cynthia, what have you been up to?
I haven't been making movies lately. I've mostly been working on genealogy. Is my new favorite thing, and helping to reunite people with their families and trace their ancestors, and that's sort of my big thing. Doing a little art, trying to be more creative in the house, and learning. I've been working on learning Photoshop, which these two men, these two artists here on our live stream, Jim and Jesse, have been helping me with, mostly providing criticism, but having a lot of fun with that.
That's great.
I'm a proud mother of 3 lovely dogs, little tiny mini
And
sheepdogs.
children.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah, 3 of them too. 3 of them, they're nowhere near as furry. Well, they're as hairy. They're hairy, but the dogs are furrier. Except for Jesse. He's that furry.
Oh, Leanne, what have you been up to?
Well, I was pursuing acting, and I was a very good waitress. And after that, I went into casting for about 10 years, and then I moved into Disney, and I was at Disney for quite a while. And recently, last year and a half, I've been at Netflix Animation here in LA, and I'm a producer. I've worked on a lot of cool stuff. I'm continuing to work on cool stuff. I really enjoy it. And I am the proud mother of 1 fur baby and 2 human babies who are both incredibly gorgeous and talented, and clearly inherited all of their father's talent and good looks.
Oh, they're mine? Oh, that's great.
Thank you, Leanne. And please also just, since you're still friends with the other girls, let them know that I tried to find them. I couldn't find them. I didn't know that you knew them. I would have asked to get them on here.
Isn't on here.
Oh,
Dee Dee's on Facebook.
yeah, Dee Dee's on Facebook.
I couldn't find.
I'll tell them you said hi.
Please, yeah. And if we do something again, I'd love to bring them on for the. Try to find all the people I couldn't find before and do something. I don't know. Because listen, I never forget Paul Mitchnick, man. He gave me so much trouble after the fact. I did the Black Roses one first, and then we did the Jitters, and I got him for the Jitters, but he was so upset that I didn't get him on the Black Roses one. And I'm like, well, I couldn't find you, my friend, But anyway, just pass along that everybody loves him, and thank them for doing this, obviously. And Mr. Frank, what have you been up to, my friend?
Wow, a lot. I mostly make a living screenwriting these days. I had a comedy movie come out just a couple of years ago called I Hate Kids, which
The posters back
Oh,
there
yeah,
somewhere.
Yes.
Nice.
Which had an amazing cast, and I got to watch Marissa Tomei read my dialogue, which was like
That's
a
cool.
very, very cool thing. And I wrote for Greg Nicotero's Creepshow series.
Yes.
Awesome. And when I'm not doing that, occasionally I still animate a little bit here and there. I was at Disney for 8 years and worked on a lot of great movies there, Tarzan and Hercules and so forth. And so every once in a while that, a gig like that comes up, and I really loved doing it, so I would do it again. But I do want to mention something that's kind of interesting. So only about, was it 2.5 weeks ago, we have a program, charity program called Scripts Gone Wild, where we read a script of a movie, and we drink while we're reading it, and we get all kinds of really cool actors to participate in it. And about 2.5 weeks ago, we did Rock and Roll Nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And we had Jonah Ray in the cast, and I'm blanking now. Oh, Barbara Crampton. Was it? Oh no, that was Creepshow.
Wasn't in
That was Creepshow. Sorry, we also did Creepshow. Sorry. But it's a really fun program, and we're now going to doing them like 4 times a year, and every time we do it, it's for a different charity, children's hospitals or what have you, food banks.
Oh, that's awesome.
You did do a zombie nightmare one at one point, didn't you?
That was one of the first ones.
Yeah,
that we did Zombie Nightmare, and John's and Cindy's son was in it, and got to play the same part that his dad played.
That's great.
And he brought one of the masks, one of the zombie masks, and he got to put it on and drag Tom Everett Scott off stage, which was really kind
That's
of
cool.
Great.
That's
I didn't
awesome.
know that.
So yes, let's. I just want to say a few things about John, obviously, and if you haven't noticed, I love his films clearly, and it sucks I never got to meet him or speak with him. But if there's any like cool other tidbits you guys have before we go about the time on set or working with him, even in this project or other projects, let's go around the table again, and anything nice to say about John, because again, John's the reason why I'm doing this. Really, I want to keep his movies alive and also reunite you guys. Really, the best I could to keep this thing going. So, Frank, I'll start with you and then go around.
Well, John and I probably know John longer than anybody else because I knew him in fourth grade. We did a lot of stage stuff together, back in high school time, around high school age. And to be absolutely honest, I have my career now partially because of John, because he put me in these movies and I got to learn what movie making was like and got me. In fact, the reason I'm a screenwriter now is partially because I was in Rock and Roll Nightmare, because there was John came to me when we were on set and he said, hey, you know what? I need a bridge between these two scenes. I just need like a 1-page scene. He goes, why don't you write it? It'll be for you and Leanne to do. So I sat down on the couch in the living room of the house and I wrote out a scene, showed it to him and he read it and he goes, okay, this is great. We'll shoot it. And did. And that's when I got bitten by the bug, the writing bug. And after that, I started writing and started to learn, how to do it right. Now I actually have, cool things being made from my work. So,
yeah.
And that all started on Rock and Roll Nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm grateful to John and Cindy, and they were both so generous when we were younger and, giving Frank and me these opportunities and to learn. And Rock and Roll Nightmare was like, I think the only film that I ever made as an actress. And it is like one of the best fun facts that I have in like all of our workplace games. And it's super fun to bring it up. And people are like, you were in a what? So that's awesome. Yeah, I knew John when we were all from the same town, Port Washington, Long Island. And he was a senior and I think I was a freshman, I don't know, but we were in high school for a brief time together. We were in a lot of plays together in high school. So maybe he was 2 years older than me, I don't know. But so that was fun. We had, the same group of friends. And yeah, I think about him often and with a smile on my face.
Thanks, Leanne. Cynthia, so how'd you meet John to begin with? I mean, I never even heard this story.
And you won't.
Okay.
You'll hear an abbreviated version of it. Let's see.
Sure.
How do I? Okay. Well, Jim and John were almost roommates at SUNY Purchase.
Hallmates.
Well, they were in the same dorm, right, Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I needed someone to work with me on a magazine, and John always wanted to work on a magazine. And I was editing a film review magazine, and I said to John, you like films? Come work with me, young man. And he was 21, and he hadn't graduated yet, and he came and worked as my assistant. And then within 6 months, he got both of us fired by trying to take over the entire publishing company, going to the publisher and saying, I could do a better job than the guy who's presently running your entire operation. Meanwhile, he hadn't even graduated yet. And we were both shown the door rather unceremoniously. And I had a mortgage to pay and a tiny little child to raise, who was Jesse. And I said, now what are we going to do, young man? And he said, well, let's make a movie. And the next thing you know, we were in pre-production on Rock and Roll Nightmare. And John was not even, John was 21 years old when we started making Rock and Roll Nightmare. So
well, no, because there were a few things before Rock and Roll Nightmare.
Jesse, shut up. You don't remember anything. You were 3 then, Jesse.
I met him when I was 5, and he did Rock and Roll Nightmare when I was 7. So there was a few projects.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe they were. I'm
There was
probably
Blood
leaving
Sister.
out one of the steps.
Well, Zombie Nightmare was first.
Yeah.
Zombie Nightmare came first.
Nightmares
Blood
before
Sister
that.
was before that.
A few
Even.
other hiccups, but I said I was abbreviating it, didn't I? And eventually, John did graduate,
Cool.
and Jesse too.
You know what? I just remembered one thing I wanted to say real quick before you move on to the next person. So we were working on Zombie Nightmare in Montreal, and John and I were in one of the hotel rooms. John was on the phone with, I guess, Shapiro, who was the investor or producer of Rock and Roll Nightmare. I think that was right. And John is talking to him on the phone, already talking to him about the next movie, which eventually became Rock and Roll Nightmare. But I was standing there and the TV was on in the room, and John was on the phone and he was just like, he was going, title. Yeah, title. And he hadn't thought of a title yet. And I looked down at the screen and the soap opera, The Edge of Night, was on.
No.
And I turned to John and I just said, The Edge of Hell. And he goes, it's called The Edge of Hell. And it stuck. And that's when we shot the movie, that's what it was called. It didn't become Rock and Roll Nightmare until the American release, VHS release, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's how that title came up, was just
we never called it Rock and Roll Nightmare. That was Shapiro put that name on there.
Yeah.
I think that name kind of made the film, by sticking rock and roll in the title. I think it really helped the movie.
Oh, 100%.
Helped the movie become beloved by people who love rock and roll. Otherwise, they would have thought, oh, it's just another horror film at the edge of hell.
Yeah.
Which is really a pretty good title. I mean, to have gotten that title from a soap opera in a second is just hilarious. But that's not a bad title.
I was just afraid that all of the movies that we were going to make from that point on were going to have Nightmare in it. Because we'd already done Zombie Nightmare, and now it was Rock and Roll Nightmare.
But somebody else said that there was another working title. It was Archangel?
No.
No? Was that the script, maybe? That Thor had? No?
I think John Thor would have liked that to be the title.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
John Thor believed that the idea that he was an archangel who had been sent to fight Satan / the evil one, that concept worked in the film. He believed that, and that's why I think he thought Archangel would sum up the film's themes well. But I don't think most people watching the film really have a clue that that's who he's supposed to be.
Didn't John Thor
Didn't
John Thor do some sort of sequel called Archangel, like around
Intercessor?
Oh, that was Intercessor. I never saw that. Yeah.
Close.
Another Rock and Roll Nightmare. Yeah.
Okay.
It was Intercessor, but yeah. Can't wait to hear that story. Hopefully you get to interview him at some point. But Jim, anything on John before we
See, what you really need to know is that John is a consummate hustler. Like he was serpentine. He could reinvent himself to become whatever personality was needed at any point in time, depending on who he was talking to, which is one reason why he became so successful in Hollywood. He was a schmoozer par excellence. And so wherever there was an opportunity, he would take it. And what was amazing is that it wasn't all bullshit, because he either knew how to do stuff or he would learn it super fast at a level that most people would be like, how the fuck? And so the missing piece of this, one of the missing pieces of this puzzle was from like 86 through 88 or so. John and my sister were working on various different projects, like she said, publishing and stuff like that. And I was working right out of college. I got a job at a company called Real Time, making crappy, low-budget horror movies, like Jesse alluded to Blood Sisters before. And I don't remember if John brought me in or if I brought John in, but somehow or another, John basically walked into the room with the producers of that movie and took over. And started telling them how they were going to make their movie. And before long, they cast him in the movie, and he was doing special effects in the movie, such as they were, which were pretty pathetic. And he wound up becoming a consultant for them on their other projects, even like painting their movie posters, and basically working all their connections for all that he could get out of them, which led to him meeting someone named Jerry Landesman, who I worked with at Real Time, who went on to work at Shapiro Glickenhaus Entertainment. So that was how that connection got started. And so John called up Jerry after he moved to California, because this was all in New York City. And he called up Jerry and he said, Jerry, I want to make some movies. And Jerry said, okay, what do you got? And John just started throwing shit against the wall. And he had this thing called he had this thing called Power Kill he wanted to do, which was like like two like muscle guys that he wanted to cast, which basically was just like a crazy over-the-top action movie, and a bunch of other stuff. I mean, like, he was doing anything and everything all the time. And amazingly, he was able to deliver on so much of this stuff, so that's basically my impression of John, long before he ever became my brother-in-law. Was this guy who was like a whirlwind. He would like suck you in like the Tasmanian devil, that was John.
Cool.
Great description.
Thanks, Jim. Adam?
So I never really had any kind of love for horror movies and stuff like that. So what I had in common with John was comedy. That because I think he was really, really funny, and so in Student Affairs he was funny, and it was a funny movie. So that's what I had in common with him. And then so when he let me improv that scene in the movie and just kind of do a lot of the comic relief, that for me was great. So I mean that's what I appreciate about him more than the other side that I really don't know that well. But the comedy side, I thought he was brilliantly funny.
Yeah. Jesse?
Well, I mean, he was my stepfather.
Yeah.
Right? I knew him from the time I was like 5 years old or a little younger, until he passed away. And it was, it was like I worked with him as a director, but then I lived with the guy.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like I had quite a bit of experiences and quite a lot of feelings about John, and I could write books about my experience with John. But if you want me to boil it down to like kind of one impression or one memory or one thing to kind of take away, I mean, he was an artist. He was one of the people who taught me art. Jim was another. He was also a writer. He taught me how to write. My mother and my Uncle Jim also helped teach me how to write, and I just remember as a kid growing up with John, and he was teaching me how to draw. He was teaching me how to write. But the thing that always stuck with me about him, and I've kind of inherited this from him, is that he's very critical, right? And like sometimes to fault, and sometimes to the point where he could hurt people's feelings or whatnot. And like sometimes if I'd show them a drawing, I'd say, John, what do you think of this? And like, you know, most kids, you show your parents a drawing, they say like, oh, good job, and they pat you in the head, that's so great and whatever. And John was, you know, he would say like, this is really good, I like the way you executed this, this, and this. Now maybe you should erase this part over here because the perspective's not quite right, or the lighting should be coming from this side, and he would give me a critique. And you know, sometimes I just like, it hurt, and I was like, damn it, I can't ever do anything good enough for him. And you know, but what happened was it made me go back and erase those bits and try to do better and do it again and do it again, and it turned me into a perfectionist. And there's no such thing as perfection, but it's like, however good or bad I am, it's like I wouldn't be as good or bad as I am had it not been for him being so critical. And not in a mean way, but it was always in like a constructive way. And so, you know, if I had just kind of regular family members who would just pat me on the head and
irregular family.
Oh, that's so good job, great, you know, I never would have progressed. But
Cool.
having John, you know, read my scripts and short stories, having him look at my art and tell me what he thought, you know, it made me better at what I do. And now that's how I look at things. If I'm looking at someone else's writing or art, or some young person coming up and, you know, what do you think of this or that? I'm maybe a little too critical sometimes, thanks to John, you know, but it's like, that's how I learned and grew and got better. And, you know, in retrospect, I have to thank him for that. It might not have been pleasant at the time. I might have wanted to just kind of had my ego stroked a lot of the time, but he was honest, and I'm better for it.
100%. And your critique has helped me with some projects that we have going on. So I appreciate that. And Carrie, I know you didn't really have like a whole lot of time with John, but what were your impressions of him in the brief time that you did?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It was, like I said, it was one day on set, and so many years ago. But 12 years ago, I got an email out of the blue. He was reaching out to say, hey, how you doing? Don't know if you remember me. But what a great project that was. And I just wanted to reach out. I came across your name on social media, and I hope you're doing well. Cool. And I was just, that was like, it's exciting, you know, to have this blast from the past reach out, and just out of pure curiosity.
Yeah. That's awesome.
For what I was doing.
Well, listen, thank you, everybody. And I wish you all the very, very best with everything that you're doing. And I hope to, you know, obviously stay in touch too. And
we should all stay in touch.
100%. Please do. And
Nightmare in the title, so that we can keep doing
it. There you go.
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
Before are you going to?
We're wrapping up. Yeah.
Going to wrap up. I just want to say that everyone who's listening should join the Rock and Roll Nightmare Facebook fan page.
Yes.
Because we've got a great group.
I should join it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, of course, everyone on the panel should join it, but anyone listening should join. If you're not on Facebook, join Facebook.
Seriously. Just for the group. The group's awesome. Yeah, it's great. It really is. And there's a lot of great people in there, and a lot of great pictures get posted, and Cynthia herself like posts a lot of cool pictures behind the scenes in there too. And it's really neat. So, but yeah, listen, I can't thank you all enough. This is always a fun time for me. Specifically, I hope you all had fun too.
I did.
Great. I really appreciate it. And So yeah, we're gonna do the Zombie Nightmare one, and I'm aiming for December just to give a break to Frank and Jesse because if you're doing this so often, might as well move in with you guys, or whatever. But yeah, this has been so much fun, and I do want to definitely get the Zombie Nightmare done so we can complete this for me, and for everybody else too. And like I said before, we're gonna figure out how to cut and put the Black Roses one on there because that video is so good. We did have Karen planned in. We did have Frank and Jesse, and we had Go whatever his name. Oh God, I forgot the guy that played the dad, Jesse's dad in the movie. We had him, and we had Christ. We had Sal Viviano. Yeah, it was such a good time, such a fun time, a lot of cool stuff, and. But yeah, again, this was great. Thank you so much. And please subscribe to the Indie Escape Network. There's lots of other cool shows on this channel. Do you have anything you want to plug, Joe, before we head out?
Well, I do, but I just got to say, Jim, I love the Activision shirt, man. That is awesome. But no, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you all coming on. We're going to say goodnight. And then, Tim, you and I will do a little thing. So good night, everybody. We appreciate you joining us.
Yes.
And
thank you so much. Let's stay in touch, everybody. Seriously. Okay.
Great to see you guys.
Right.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Tim, for putting this all together.
Yeah. Good night, guys.
Well, thank you.
Walk on.
Friggin' night, mate.
Friggin' night, mate.
Dude, that was amazing.
I love those people. I do. I really do. And I was just reading the chat too. There's a lot of cool people in the chat too. And then, but no, those people are great, and it just solidifies my love for John Fasano's movies. They are obviously not Oscar winners by any means, but they're so much fun, and even rewatching them brings back memories. And no, they're not. Again, they're not like the, they are works of art in their own way. They really are. There's that throwback indie style movies that would get into your local VHS mom and pop store with a cool cover on it. Yeah, that too. Yes, guerrilla filmmaking and fun. And you can tell there's a lot of trash out there, all right? There really is. But these films, although they weren't necessarily the greatest movies, they were so much fun, and you could tell that the people making them had a blast. It wasn't a shit show. Like, you could tell that even with the tiny budgets, or even when they had slightly bigger budgets, that they had some issues where, like, oh shit, like, hey, did you bring this? Oh shit, that's so much fun. And then even like listening to the Jitters one the other week when they were saying how they paid a whole street of Chinese shops to leave the lights on when they closed so they could film at night. And they paid them, and then they didn't leave the lights on. So, like, that's awesome. So anyway, Joe, thanks for letting me do this on the network. This is a great time. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for doing it. I mean, I was in the green room, just enamored. It was. We got Brandon saying, "Proud of you, Tim. You made another great cult classic film Q&A ep again. Long live these eps and everything on the Indie Escape Network.
Here.
Onward and upward." Thank you, Brandon.
Yes. So I'm gonna just spill the beans real quick on the trick or treat thing. So I was just so everybody knows, I was planning on doing the trick or treat the Q&A, the same thing next week, but I was only able to confirm with 2 people, and 2 people is not a panel. Like, 2 people is an interview, and I didn't want to do an interview. I want to do a panel. So I'm still on the hunt for more guests for that show. So that show is not being canceled. It's just, it might not happen next Thursday because I might not get more people. A lot of those people have gone on to do huge, bigger, better things, and they're almost impossible to get a hold of.
But not only that, I mean, October is a busy month for these guys.
No, that too. Yeah. Whatever. They're supposed to be on my show.
Well, you're right. Absolutely. I can't argue that. And I would argue that.
No, but listen, I do have 2 guests confirmed. So as in, like, whenever we do it, they're definitely going to be there. And one of them is a pretty big guest, and then the other one, no one's ever had her on any interview or show. So, and she has a pretty decent role in the movie, so that'll be a good one.
Well, I'm gonna let you do
Regardless.
something for your brother Brandon. I'm
Sure.
gonna let you plug tomorrow night's show.
Oh, hell yeah, dude! Check out the IOU. My boy Brandon E. Brooks. Every one of these episodes he's done since January, man. I've been just in awe of the guests that he's been able to pull off, first and foremost. But secondly, some of these people I've actually been able to meet through Brandon, and they're wonderful people. And all these interviews, whether they're well known or lesser known, always an amazing interview, always an amazing time. He has great questions, great setups. He puts a lot of work into these shows too. So please tune in, please subscribe to the Indiescape Network, but also obviously Brandon's show with William Ragsdale, who I did get to meet with Brandon at the Houston Horror Film Festival. He was
Do
there
you
right
realize
next to
throughout the whole network, we've had almost everybody from Fright Night?
Yes, Stephen Jeffries, Tom Holland, Beta Burris, yeah.
So I think we're just missing like one or two. So
what about Sarandon's buddy? Wasn't he on one of the other shows once? No,
the guy who played the ghoul.
Yeah, the guy who played the ghoul. Wasn't he on one of the shows?
He was. He was on Madison's show. And
he was on Madison's show. That's
dude,
right.
We just had Tom Holland on the show last week.
I know. I did. I actually watched that Sunday night show.
It was amazing.
It was great. It was a great time. Great show.
I don't know if I can compare it to this show because
dude, it's Tom Holland. Come on, obviously, but listen, just tonight specifically to get Cynthia on. I didn't have her on the last two. She was going. I somehow I couldn't find her for the Black Roses one, but anyway, for the Jitters one, I found her and she was gonna do it, but then didn't do it, and then she did it tonight. So I was thankful that she did it tonight because she was there all the time. Because that was her husband at the time, and she was not just getting a little role in these films; she was producing it, like behind the scenes, doing all the stuff, so making this shit happen. So props to her. She was fantastic. Love her. And Jesse's a great dude. Frank, it's always a pleasure to have him on. It was a pleasure to see his wife this evening. And Jim, dude, Jim's awesome. I gotta talk more to Jim.
I want to talk to Jim.
I know Jim's Stig and Adam actually, I thought, because his Facebook still said he lived in Haverhill, I thought, and Haverhill is like the next town over from where I grew up in Massachusetts, and I was wondering if he was still there, but he said he's now since moved to I think Chicago or something like that. But it was just cool to see him and Cynthia too, and Carrie. Carrie's an amazing artist. I have not read her books yet, but her artwork is phenomenal, 100%. And and apparently she's acted in a lot of stuff too. So in her home of Canada. So just IMDb these people and check them out and see what they've been up to. All right, cool. Now I gotta go to bed.
Good.
I gotta go to bed now. I gotta get the kids. Anyway,
it was a good night, man.
It was a good night. Thanks, Joe, and thanks everybody in the Indiescape. And and listen, check out CJ and J-Dub's shows as well. Does Gabe have anything coming up?
Gabe is resuming in November.
Okay, all right, but
so close.
But definitely check out I love the J-Dub show, man. The JW and the other guy.
Generation Movies.
Generation Movies. There you go. I always try to tune in and leave comments, but listen, they don't get enough views, man. You people got to watch that. That show is so underrated. I'm telling you. I think honestly, it's got to be like the most underrated show on the network. It is so good, but yet nobody gets to see it. So please tune in to Generation Movies. Please just promise me, everybody who's watching this, tune into the next one, and then tell me I'm wrong. Okay.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, again, another awesome evening, Tim. Can't wait for the next panel.
I have many more in the works, but yeah.
Do you have a closing?
No, I don't. Just No.
Just put this up.
Put that up and let's go.
and kind of do one of these
I
things
wing it.
with the music.
That's right.
Why isn't the music playing? Did you break it? No, I'm kidding.